Rajesh, you must be aware that there are two important houses called the Marvel and the DC. They are very popular, and they have created a kind of universe of their own. Why in India, the Indian cartoonists failed to replicate that same success?
People very dear. Humanity, honesty, and making people smile. So, when you say honesty, uh, showcase one instance in your life wherein you proved your honesty.
You, Rajesh, introduce yourself.
My name is Rajesh Kumar. I was born and brought up in Gurdaspur district of Punjab. I did my BTech in Electronics and Communication from Guru Nanak Dev University, Amritsar, and after that I am pursuing for UPSC Civil Services.
Rajesh, highlight three important values that you hold very dear.
Sir, one is humanity, that I believe every human is equal, and second is honesty. Be truthful. There is no reason to lie and create a tangle and then get caught up. And third, I I believe in making others laugh, smile somehow.
Okay. Rajesh, you come from Gurdaspur, Punjab. What is your take on freebie politics?
I guess you have in mind that 300 units recently given free by the Punjab government.
In general terms, politics based on freebies.
Freebie is a part of the Indian politics in their manifesto. It's reflected in every state, every union governments. And freebie has the issue of creating the debt problem. They can increase the debt of a state or a union government, but it has benefits also. The money that people gonna save with freebies, they are going to spend it somehow in economy, and it creates demand. This circle of economic circle. The money saved in a freebie, it is going to create demand in other sectors. That's how it's a positive also. And if it's balanced with other reforms, for example, if you take an example of electricity, free electricity in Punjab, and if it simultaneously Punjab government is improving the discoms, the thermal plants, they are modernizing the thermal plants, so they can enhance the efficiency of electricity production. So I think it's well and good policy.
Do you know any particular country which has successfully implemented this freebie policy?
So a lot of European countries, for say, has health in healthcare, in education.
Are you aware about any particular specific country which has successfully implemented this policy?
So not specifically, but when I read social media and the people of Norway, the Sweden, how they praise their governments about their socialist policies, their freebie, free healthcare and education. From there, I can guess these countries have. Uh, but if we take it as an freebies, education and health sector.
Imposition of tax on agriculture.
So given how, given take the data of the Indian agriculture, how the very small land holdings with the majority of the farmers. So it might be a bit difficult to tax all the farmers, but few farmers which are evading the taxes and which have lands in the name of agriculture, big corporate houses, big industrialists, and we can find those with the help of now the banks are linked with the PAN cards. There is a more connectivity, more easier to check tax offenders. We can find in case by case basis to start taxing the agriculture incomes.
Suppose you have to set up an enterprise in Gurdaspur. Around what entity that enterprise could be set? Given
How the lack of industry in Gurdaspur district, and majorly it is based on the agriculture, wheat, rice cycle, and bit of sugarcane and kidney. These are the major crops in Gurdaspur districts. And obviously there is a need of industry, but if I have to set up, then that would be in food processing. It's easier around fruits and vegetables.
fruits and vegetables. Which fruits and vegetables?
That Kinnu is a major production in Gurdaspur district. Then there is guava and lychee. That's a major production in Gurdaspur district.
It's easier to.
Set up food.
If you want to grow guava, what are the ideal climatic conditions?
Sir, ideal, I don't know, sir.
Uh, you have opted for public administration as your optional subject, but your stream of graduation was electronics and communication. And Rajesh, why did you opt for public administration and not any science subject?
Sir, first of all, that electronics and communication, which is subject I have read mostly, the optical fiber and these, they are not in the UPSC syllabus. And secondly, I felt at that time when I selected my option, it's easier to read public administration because it's quite interlinked with what we are going to become in future, either IRS or IAS officer or IPS officer. A lot of chapters are devoted to those leadership and all.
Okay. Highlight the principles on the basis of which we can design a good tax administration. Highlight three principles.
Sorry, sir.
We heard about John Stuart Mill.
John Stuart Mill. Yes, sir.
He's a philosopher. We heard about Thomas Hobbes. Yes. And have you heard about Max Weber?
Melody in public administration.
What model that he has proposed?
Sir, we read in as an Weberian bureaucracy.
It's the model. That's the philosophy. What's the model?
Sir, I don't.
Now, you are aware about Max Weber's views. You are also aware about John Stuart Mill's views and Thomas Hobbes' views.
Yes, sir. I have read all about these, but yes, sir. I may think
Pick one scholar among these about whom you are most confident.
hopes.
Now, think of a government scheme which runs on the philosophical principles of Hobbes.
So if I remember it properly, hopes is basically a duty. You have to do your law should be implemented in such a way. It should be your duty to. Sir, I'm not exactly sure, but it's a basis on those principles.
Hobbes or Kant?
I think I'm confused between hopes and Kant.
Immanuel Kant.
Yes, I have read all about these, but I haven't revised these actually philosophers.
Uh, you have read electronics and communication. You're aware about an optical fiber. What is the structure of an optical fiber? How many layers in the optical fiber cable?
So, sir, if I have to guess, I think there are 3 layers. In between, the over one is a transparent one, and then outer protection layers.
You heard about core, buffer, cladding. Heard about that?
I have heard these terms, but I don't remember it properly where they are used and how they are used.
Do you use the internet? Who controls the internet?
Internet service providers. No, they don't control the internet, but they just, sir, there is no controlling authority on internet right now. There is international authority which uh, provide domains and these things, but there is no holistic global authority to control the internet.
There is no point. Have you heard about DNS?
So,
Context of internet. Domain name server or domain name systems?
okay, sir.
Where the DNS server located for India?
So if I have to guess, probably in Mumbai.
Rajesh, what is your biggest weakness?
Uh, Although I have a lot of positivity, if I have to say weakness, then it's bit of laziness to keep work pending and do it in the last moment. That one of my weaknesses.
And you have written in your DAF that you like reading classic books. What do you mean, dear, by that?
One main definition of classic book, but the books which are generally has uh, in the 19th century, 18th century books, which are read in all of the globe, over the globe, which are even a part of their curriculum in universities. Those are the classic books. For example, Hamlet, Shakespeare's books, then Charles Dickens' books, Leo Tolstoy. These are the classic books. I'm also very new to the reading class books in like last 2 years, and I have read only those books which are recommended by the better readers, and I take a suggestion from them and read only those books.
Have you heard about this famous book, perhaps one of the best creation of the 19th century, Origin of Species? Have you heard about it?
Mm, Uh, Charles Darwin.
Now, what is this evolutionary thought? Define evolutionary thought.
So in the context of Darwinism,
It's evolution or evolutionary thought or evolutionary process.
so evolution in basic terms, how humans have evolved from reptiles, from to fishes.
Evolved from reptiles? No, sir. How all the species?
Species have evolved from for one organism, then fish, then amphibians, then reptiles, then going on to humans. But Darwin has wrote about how the powerful among those uh, who have actually, sorry sir.
Now relate this evolutionary concept or concept of evolution to public administration.
So that's the one thing about Darwin is Darwin has said that the powerful of all the species is going to survive in future. That's how the survival of a species actually happens. And in public administration also, if we compare the comparative public administration, how society is surviving. For example, if in Europe, for take an example, there were kings and nobles, how they used to control. Then comes Holy Roman Empire. Then they came in the bureaucracy, then fully fledged bureaucracy came into existence with the war of Napoleon Bonaparte, and how this evolution happened in administration, how the fittest of the fittest among those who are surviving.
Harish, you also like watching cartoons or you draw cartoons? Watching
Cartoons and anime.
How did you develop this hobby?
So there is no specificity about developing this hobby. I was watching cartoons and anime since my childhood, and it kept continue. Initially, I was watching only cartoons. I love reading comics and cartoons, but later on, I added the anime also, which is Japanese version of cartoons. Just like books, and just like movies, the cartoons are also fictional. They also teach something about humanity, love, peace. Everything is there. Tragedy is there. Comedy is there. It's a whole genre. It's not, it's very stereotyped. Cartoons are for kids and these things, but it's not actually true. Cartoons have whole genre.
Point. Rajesh, you must be aware that there are two important houses called the Marvel and the DC. They are very popular and they have created a kind of universe of their own. Why in India? The Indian cartoonists failed to replicate that same success. So
Actually, when Dada Falke, so the very famous personality in Indian 20th century, and began with the Raja Harishchandra movie. We said that it's the first movie, but he inspired it from the cartoons. At the beginning, the Disney and India was at the same level in cartoon making. But when World War II happened, there was the problem of reels and all. India lagged in cartoons. One of the reason for USA West to success in cartoon because they take mythology as a mythology. We take it much serious than them. And there was a very famous movie, Ramayana, cartoon movie, animated movie, which was made by a Japanese director in 1990s. Then there was a lot of protest when it go to release in India. Ki how come the mythological? They don't believe it's a mythological character. How our history is converted into cartoons. There were a whole protest by organizations, and it actually from that time I believe the mythology in the is actually not as much popular like DC and Marvel. Their characters, fictional characters, even if they are there, they are myth. For example, if you take example of that Zeus, the Greek gods, they are converted into their cartoons. But in India, it's impossible or very difficult to do without protest.
I feel I do not buy that argument because having gone through a comic series in India called the Raj Comics, and there's a character in that called Nagraj,
Okay.
and he has been shown with some special powers where he can use snakes and you can relate it to Lord Shiva.
Yes, so that's much older comics. But in 90s, after 90s, that was a time when India actually could have, globalization started. We could have promoted our cartoons in global audience with our mythological characters, with their powers, which didn't happen.
The mindset of the Indian population is responsible. That's what you're trying.
Yes, at that time.
Now, what is in the news?
Now they are demanding we should create, but we are already very behind the West and Japan.
Thank you.
Rajesh, you said the values that you hold very dear: humanity, honesty, and making people smile. So, when you say honesty, uh, showcase one instance in your life wherein you proved your honesty.
So it's there is no particular incident I remember, but it's about saying the truth, whatever it is, whether it's going to hurt the people in front of me, my friend or no. But say the truth. It's the best, easier way to get out of the situation, rather than
Wherein you were honest, knowing fully well that your honesty will go against you, but yet you maintained your honesty.
sir, I'm unable to recall any.
Okay, supposing you are as a district collector, maybe in Gurdaspur or maybe in Pathankot, you come across a case wherein one of your employees causes uh, a small loss on account of some malpractice that he has done. And another person who has caused a big loss, but due to negligence. How would you react to both these cases? Which one would you take most seriously? And how would you react?
So the more serious cases which is deliberately done, which is a corruption. If it's a negligence, it's happened due to some negligence, but whether it's a big loss, but that person can be improved. We can he has a value, that's for sure. He's not a corrupt officer, he just have some negligence on his part which can be corrected in future also, and he's an asset for the government. But the person who has done it deliberately, whether it's a very less amount, and it's a possibility to do it in larger scale in the future, so I should have take the first steps on that person.
What action will you take against both?
For the negligent officer, I will instruct him to be more careful in the future and little bit reprimand. Uh, verbally. There is no need to take strict action against him, but on though that other person who is doing it, corrupt practices, and we have to take a strict action account as per the official policies, our departmental policies. Take any strict action.
Which value would you hold higher in esteem? Honesty or integrity? Why?
Uh, Sir, given how we are going to work as in the government, the integrity is much important. And honesty, that we read, someone is doing a corruption, but
Honesty and integrity.
you are being truthful. Whether you are criminal, but you are saying, yes, I have done the crime, you are honest. But integrity is not even doing the wrong thing. Whatever the situation might be, you are not going to do the crime.
So if somebody is a criminal, you will give him more respect because he's being honest about his criminality.
He doesn't have integrity. Integrity, well, you don't have to do corrupt practices. You don't have to do.
Okay, your date of birth is 5th of April. What is this day celebrated in India as?
So I don't remember.
Do you share your birthday with any celebrities from the world of cinema or from the world of politics?
Yeah, I'm sure I'm having the dates, but I haven't uh, done research on this topic.
Sure of what?
Done some research at that time, but now I am unable to recall those famous personalities. But there sure is, I guess, Diana, the Queen, Princess Diana, and something from England also. But right now I am unable to recall. But I will do it, sir.
Diana was born on 5th of April. No, sir, she might be died on the date or she was born.
But there is some huge issues there.
Okay, you belong to Gurdaspur. Uh, can you name some prominent people from Gurdaspur who have made Gurdaspur proud?
Yes, sir. First is Devanand, sir, and second is Muhammad Rafi. He was born in undivided Punjab, Gurdaspur. And third is, sir, I don't remember full name, Minto, who later moved to Pakistan. He's a very famous poet and short story writer.
Hassan. Why did you say Mohammad Rafi was born in undivided Punjab?
So at that time, it was undivided. But yes, all three are born in undivided Punjab actually. The name.
Okay. Anybody whom you remember who made India proud very, very recently, just about a couple of few months ago?
Sir, sir, in which sense, sports or
Anything that you can think of. 2 months ago.
so, not famous? There is a recent autobiography released, Narendra Kapani, who is the father of optics. Man Who Has Bent the Light is the name of the book, and he's from Punjab. But he recently died also.
Okay, let's talk in terms of any beauty pageant.
Yes, sir. She is from Gurdaspur. She also born from Gurdaspur. She was a Miss Universe, I guess, but her name was Harsimrat Kaur. Har, Harsimran. Sir, I'm
Using a politician with the beauty. Harsimrat Kaur belongs to which party?
Prakash Badal.
And what about Harnas Sandhu? Okay, this is your seventh attempt at the civil services. This is your first interview? Third interview. What happened in the first two interviews?
Sir, first interviews were taken by Air Marshal Bhosle, sir, and I got 140. And at that time, I was very immature. You can say I have very idealism in my answers. Whenever he asked me questions about corruptions and all. I was very idealistic how it should be removed and all. And second time it was Arvind Saxena I bought. I got 160. That time it was okay, but that anxiety and nervousness is there.
Okay, tell me if you come to know in the department where you're working, maybe if you're working uh, as a district collector, a person in your office is resorting to undesirable activities. Uh, Let me put it otherwise. He is making money on the slide. What action will you take? To subordinate.
Yes. So first step should be the investigation. We should done the inquiry, departmental inquiry. Second, we need to in investigation. We need to ask all the peers, how long he's being involved, from how much time he's doing it. Then we have to find those sources also, where he's parked that money and how what properties he has bought. That's also part of inquiry, and we have to take strict action.
The person happens to be a superior, then
So same things. Legally, the same steps should be taken, but unofficially, there is this superior subordinate gap is there, and it's better to call the superior of my superior if you to take strict action, write a letter, official letter, how this is happening in the under their noses. There might be some superior of that person also.
you did your BTech in 2014, I see, and you never worked. No, have you worked otherwise? Where was that? You here you written no. Have you been employed? You said no.
Yes, sir, that's a freelancing job. For example, in the education this industry, UPSC industry, you have to make model answers. You have to check the copies for the aspirant who write means copies. That kind of work. But that's a freelancing job, so I didn't write it.
So you done your BTech, electronics and communication. Now you want to get into the civil services. How is this degree going to help you in performance of the civil services duties? I first preference IPS.
And if I get selected as an IPS officer, then in future, uh, there will be many possibility of many courses. For example, the forensics. One can be trained in information technology. Then the future is smart cities, big data, AI. These BTech, the skills that I have learned. Obviously, I don't remember all those, but I have the ability to again uh, fill that gap as an IPS officer.
Which what are the skills that you think you possess, which will make you a good IPS officer?
I can work hard, that I'm hard worker. If I have some gap, I have curiosity to learn new things, to know about the things, to go on the core of the issue, and that's that gonna help me in technical education also.
How do you like to while away your time?
Yes. Sorry, sir. Okay.
How do you like to while away your time? What do you like to do during your times when you're not very busy?
Nowadays, I read books. Other than that, there is a very less spare time left for the aspirants. But whatever time there is, I love to read books and watch bit of cartoons. That's all.
You also said that you love to do Sudoku puzzles.
Crosswords. Yes, sir. That also I do.
What made you fond of Sudoku?
Uh, as an aspirant who started reading the newspaper like Hindu, Indian Express, there is always one particular space for Sudoku and crossword. Initially, I was only the fan of Sudoku the last 3 4 years, but when I started reading classic books, the vocab starts to get improved. Then I started doing crosswords also.
Okay. Do you know which day in the world, which day is celebrated as the World Sudoku Day in the world?
Sir, I don't even knew there is a day on Sudoku, but I will check on that, sir.
One last question. Tell me what is the difference between Sudoku and Sudoku?
No, sir.
Name three techniques in solving a Sudoku puzzle.
Sir, I don't use any technique. I just check all the numbers from this side, and that square, and put that number roughly. And but I never use it. It's very difficult to use hit and trial when you solve with the pen. It's pencil, then it's okay, but I never solve with the pencil. I always do with the pen. So it's only one chance. Thanks.
Rajesh.
Rajesh, you are from Gurdaspur. What are the two famous rivers of Gurdaspur?
Ravi and Bias.
Oh, yes, what's name?
Sir,
Why it is called as Bias?
it is a modern form of ancient name. Vipas, so something like that, which is written in the Vedic scriptures also. Vipassana. From
Why Vipas? Any specific reason?
no, sir, that I don't remember.
Which national highway passes through Gurdaspur?
National Highway number 1.
NH1. Are you sure on that?
Grand Trunk Road, Utah.
Okay. Tell me some specific qualities of Guru Ramdas ji, which you admire.
Guru Ramdas. So that's a bit difficult right now to remember. Read about all the gurus. I only read about the first guru and 10th guru.
Okay. What is the difference between judicial custody and police custody in criminal law?
So when there is a FIR, for example, there is some FIR as well, the criminal cases here. Then Thana police take criminal in its custody. That's a police custody for 24 hours. Then he has to produce in the front of magistrate. Then after that, magistrate has to say how much time he is going to be in custody. That's a judicial custody. That's I
What is the difference between police powers in case of police custody and judicial custody? In judicial custody, how police powers will change?
so then I guess so all the powers related to that criminal, he be moved and when he's to be moved and what further steps to be taken as in a procedure to be followed. That's all based on the magistrate's authority.
So, powers and authorities. That is what you're trying to say?
Has less authority that time.
Okay. Which are the 5 most populous cities of Punjab?
So Ludhiana is the first, and then is Amritsar, Jalandhar, and Patiala.
These are 4. 5th one?
So I don't remember.
In your zonal preference, southern states are at 3rd position, especially Kerala, Telangana, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka. They are at 3rd position in the preference list. That is a bit unusual.
Sir, in which sense? It's a good thing or bad thing?
It is unusual.
Okay.
Just give me a justification. Why southern states are at third? Why not first? Or why not fifth?
Okay. Sir, first is obviously my home state. About second and third. Now the second are northern plus Odisha. I have selected Odisha is my second preference because Odisha is quite stable. From last 20 to 30 years, if we see the data, Odisha is quite stable for either IAS officer or IPS officers.
Since government administrator.
Patnaik is ruling the Odisha state for quite some time, and there is very much stability.
How stability impacts IS and IPS officers?
Lesser transfers, lesser pressure, pressure. Yes, and the if we see the incidents of
Riots.
criminal riots or the other riots, which is quite less in Odisha. There are
Some riots who are
Can you handle pressure? Then why you want a state with less pressure and more stability?
There's no doubt about it, but still I have to think whether I can get post where is less pressure. Obviously, I can handle any kind of work, but still I will prefer some peace work environment.
You want peace of mind. Good. You are, as you rightly said by you, that you work as a freelancer. What is your take on rising coaching mafia in each and every sphere, whether it is graduation, whether it is higher secondary, even civil service examination?
Between what government is providing education and what actually the need of this country. There is surely a gap which is being milked by coaching industries, and
So, what should be the steps taken by government so that the role of coaching industry gets reduced?
so coach industry will be there to fill some gap. There is no possibility to fill that gap in very less time. But for now, the new education policy which was announced, if implemented with the same spirit with which it is written, and it's going to be game changer. If we're providing the same skills, the syllabus is according to the need of the industry, then uh, this coaching culture might reduce.
Okay. In recent time, there has been news going around where there's a discourse where meat selling hawkers are banned near specific religious places. What is your take on that?
Yes. So there are few recent incidents. Some are violent, some are non-violent. But yes, meat hawkers were displaced during the Navratra season, and so I think it shouldn't happen because they are the poorest or the lowest of the segment of the society who are earning their living by hard work and the selling biryani and all.
when the big
What we say big industry, the meat shops, which have big chains, which are selling online products, they are not banned by during Navratras and all. The whole anger on hawkers seems unjustified. And if
Do you
during Navratras, there should be a specific places where they can be shifted for temporary for 9 days, and that can be one of the solution. If all communities do it collectively, they deliberate on it where to shift your places. That can be one of the solution. But again, impacting or controlling food habits is quite unusual also. Other person what to eat, what when to eat.
in your service preference, Indian Police Service is at first position. Any specific reason for that?
Yes, the specific reason is that my father is a police constable. So from my childhood, I was living in the same environment. I was in police jail quarters, and from the childhood, I have some uh,
attraction toward the police.
met any IS officer or IFS officer, but obviously I have met many police officers. So that always attracted me to join this.
Okay, one last question from my side. You said that you believe in smile to make people laugh. Tell us a joke to make us smile.
That's a very difficult thing to do. So making smile by jokes is like satirist is different thing. Making jokes and instantaneously making people happy on the spot is different thing, I guess. But I make jokes, but I'm unable to do this right now.
Not an issue. Thank you.
Rajesh,
Yes, sir.
one final question that will wind this interaction. Highlight something in which you once believed, but now you no longer believe in that. What is that? Believed in religion, but now you no longer believe in religion. Now, imagine that you are the district collector, and there are few people in your district who want to conduct a religious ceremony, and there is another group who wants to organize, say, a festival, non-religious festival, say a social festival, and they both are looking for the same ground. They want to book that ground for their festivities. One religious group, and one non-religious. Suppose they want to conduct some cultural festival. Whom will you give this space? You have to pick one.
First come, first serve in this case. Will come.
Suppose if both of them approach you at the same time.
So there is no specific criteria, but to talk with their leaders about the priorities, which one is. Yes, but we have to. I have to talk with them leaders also. We have to convey the message. The opposition. This is other group also. Their demand might
They
be.
both say that we do not want to give an age. We want this space. You do the decision making is on you. What is your decision? That's what I'm interested.
I will give space to a religious procession, a religious festival.
And what is the logic behind that decision?
Religious people tends to be, if we don't fill the demands, they tend to be act like a mob. But cultural people, which you said, other group is, which is possible that they might be peaceful. If they will say that no, there is no place for them, they might.
Data to back that.
Not exactly, but the recent incidents, how is happening, how every religious people, how act when there is something happen against their beliefs and their religions. So they tend to create this mob culture. So it's better to give them the space.
Thank you, Rajesh. Your interview is over. We will reconnect with you in some time for a feedback. Rajesh, before we begin the feedback session, I would like you to assess your own performance. And if you have to rate yourself on a scale of 10, where would you place yourself?
6.5.
And why are you saying so? What went wrong?
Sir, I don't have that deep knowledge about all the topics right now. I haven't prepared this electronics yet, this optical fiber that you have asked. I haven't gone through those. This is my basics. And the knowledge that I have, even on few topics, it's very superficial, which I, done during this mains preparation. But after that, I haven't revised it. That's also for example, you asked me questions about ethics. Obviously we have read about Hobbes, Kant and all the things, but right now I was unable to recall exact what they have asked. That is only single point that would have suffice if I had
That dear, because self-realization is the first step towards improvement, right? Rajesh, first you must understand here that this is not a test of your knowledge, because your knowledge has already been tested in prelims and mains. Obviously, you have done well. That's why you have got this interview call. It is a test of your personality. So, what is being tested? These things are being tested. What kind of values do you put? What are the virtues in your character? Do you have any kind of prejudice, stereotypical thought? Are you biased against any community? Do you have inclusive approach in life? How much do you value the Constitution of India? Can you engage with multiple stakeholders? Can you negotiate well? Do you have the power of persuasion? Will you further the case of social justice, or you will stand as an impediment in the path of delivery of social justice? Do you have an inclusive mindset? These are the things. Are you inquisitive? Are you a good listener? These are the things, different aspects of your personality. So every question that is being thrown at you, it is thrown with the purpose of understanding one or more of these things, so that it could be ascertained that whether you can be trained or not. You get it? So let me start with the very first. The combination that you have adopted today is very good, right? But the knot of your tie slightly loose and your buttons are visible. It creates an impression as if you're taking the entire affair very casually. So you have to be formal with that. Then the socks that you have gone for, they are short and your skin is visible. It has to be dark color. If this is what you are intending to wear, that is the combination of dress. Yes. So if this is the dress, then go for a dark black and plain socks without any kind of prints. Not go for any fancy patterns. Right? Otherwise, the tie, the shirt, everything is fine. Avoid wearing the watch because you know that that will not be allowed, right? So even if you come to the place, you can take off the watch, right? Because you have to prepare yourself for that. Everything has to be like that. Even soldiers do full dress wears before 26 January. So prepare that thing. Then let me highlight a few other problems regarding the body language. First, the eye contact. The eye contact was not proper. The right way of having the eye contact is when somebody asks you the question, look towards that person and wait for the question to finish. While that person is asking the question, do not shift your eyes. Because if you're talking to me, if you're asking me something, if I look elsewhere, it means I'm not paying enough attention. Understand that? Once the question is over, then slightly lower your gaze, not put your head down, because that is a mark of lack of confidence. Just lower your gaze. This creates an impression as if you're thinking. And then pick your eyes again and start answering by looking at the person who has asked you the question. Primarily, 60 to 70% times you have to look towards that person. In between, you have to look towards other people as well, so that they do not feel neglected. The way you were sitting on the chair, once, in fact, you started bending over, right? So avoid that thing as well. The right way to sit in the chair is your spinal cord should touch the back of the seat. You should be placing yourself at the center of the seat. Right? Take time to sit. The way you have placed your feet, this is a sign of anxiety, nervousness, which was also evident during the interview. The distance between the feet should be same as the distance is between your knees. Your shoulders, your knees, and your feet should be in line. And the feet should not be dragged beneath the chin. It should be parallel to the knees. Right? These are small things I'm telling you. And the toes should be slightly open. Yes, this shows that you are relaxed. The way you have kept your hands now is the right way of keeping your hands. In between, you can also lock your fingers. But at times, I saw you were rubbing your hands against each other. This again shows that you're nervous, excited, anxious. You're not in full control of it. Not a good thing to show, at least in the UPSC first. Right? The voice, the pitch of the voice, rather, in which you were speaking, was at times terribly low. So low that I found it really difficult to understand what you were saying. When I consulted with the other members, they also said that they faced the same problem. That you were saying at a very low pitch, which has to be audible. You do not need to shout, but speak at appropriate decibel levels. And there were no voice modulation. If there is something of grave concern, that concern should be reflected on your face. If it is something on the lighter note, you should bring a smile on your face. The smile was also missing for most parts of the interview, which again builds tension in the room and pressure over. I felt that sometimes after answering, when you were encountering the next question, you were thinking about the previous answer. At least that was evident on your face. Means you started developing a feeling in your interview ठीक नहीं जा ऐसा लगने लगा ठीक है. See, some facts will be thrown at you, obviously with the idea to check that how do you respond under pressure. This is the idea. You rightly pointed out that you need to improve your knowledge in public administration, especially the thinker, philosopher part. Some of them are common in ethics as well. Then optical fiber cable, very basic thing. You have spent 4 years of your life in engineering. This is a very simple thing. So you should know about it. Also, there could be a question around what government is doing around optical fiber cable. What's the price of optical fiber cable? So learn everything about communication and electronics, basic concepts. Right? Revise them. Then, when I asked you to introduce yourself, you introduced yourself. You highlighted only the professional aspects of your person. There was no mention of your hobbies when you were introducing yourself, and something interesting that you're learning something. Try to highlight that aspect. Right? What are your values? Try to highlight that also as well. Your date of birth related things, you need to brush on those things. You are also not speaking clearly. At times, during the fag end of the sentence, the words were getting, they were mixing with each other, so that it became very difficult. So the voice was also going low, and the words were also colliding against each other. So it became very difficult. In one place, you said, personally, I feel it should not happen. Well, of course, yes. Personally, I feel it's not at all a good statement to make. To my mind, in the best of my knowledge, personally, I feel it doesn't matter what you feel personally. What we need to check is how you will perform when you are in professional capacity. Do you get it? I have you a question about cartoons. उस territory में चले गए जहाँ debate हुई। तो मैंने आपको grill नहीं किया, लेकिन बहुत अच्छे से grill किया। ठीक है, आपने क्या कहा? इंडियन सोसाइटी का माइंडसेट वही रिस्पॉन्सिबल रहा है पहले, हम कार्टून नहीं डेवलप करते. When I said this, is this the reason you said yes? Previously it was the reason. Do you get it? Do you know that it requires investment, drawing, graphic designing, tools, incubation centers, right? A larger audience. You cannot blame everything on the mindset. And I asked you, why not DC and Marvel type of universes in India? So there are so many Diamond Comics. Have you heard about it? Raj Comics. So they're already present. इसमें mindset कहाँ आ रहा है? कब विरोध हुआ है? राज कॉमिक्स का या डायमंड कॉमिक्स का? चाचा चौधरी का कभी विरोध हुआ है? तो क्यों नहीं बना सकते हम यूनिवर्स? जरूरी है एक्शन कॉमिक्स, मैंने बोला आपको एक्शन हीरोज बनाने. आपने नैरो अंडरस्टैंडिंग लिया उस क्वेश्चन का. Yes. Do you understand that? और वहाँ पे हम derive कर सकते हैं. Why to bring in mythology, religion into the picture? आप तो अपना ही खेल खराब कर. You get it? And also your answer in that part was not very smooth. It was not diplomatic and balanced. ऐसा लग रहा था prejudiced हुआ. और आखिर में आपने मन बोल भी दिया कि I do not believe in religion. आप समझ रहे हैं पूरे जो पॉइंट से कनेक्ट. ऐसा लगा कि you are stereotypical against those who believe in religion. नहीं है ऐसा, मुझे पता है, लेकिन ऐसा लगा. वही मैं आपसे कहने की कोशिश करता हूँ. Choose your words, बेटा, very carefully. You get it? एक जगह which was disaster in the entire उड़ीसा के बारे में जब आपसे क्वेश्चन said पटनायक है, पटनायक is there. ये था आपके शब्द, ठीक है, which is stable. First, when you are referring to a sitting chief minister or anyone, the honorable Mr. Biju Patnaik, Navin Patnaik for now. So ये कोई डिफेंस है? उसकी वजह से मैं थोड़ा सा जाना चाहता हूँ। लेसर ट्रांसफर प्लस लेसर प्रेशर, these were your words. Very bad, disastrous. You understand that? ऐसे क्वेश्चंस में आपको सिर्फ ये बोलना चाहिए that UPSC has given me a opportunity to give some preferences. I have just done that, but I'm more than willing to serve in any part of the country in any capacity. हाँ, IPS आपने पहले क्यों रखा है वो justification आपने अच्छा दिया. You have grown in an environment where you have met large number of IPS officers very frequently, so you got inspired by them. ये justified लगता है. लेकिन इसमें ऐसा लग रहा है आप bias रखते हो बाकी हर वो जगह पे जहाँ पे political instability है. मतलब आप political stability देखकर काम करना चाहते हो कि लोगों के लिए काम करना चाहते हो? समझ रहे हो? सोशल जस्टिस वाला एंगल. Get it, dear? So please avoid that. और इसलिए the supplementary question that was asked to you was, can you handle pressure? It's what was asked to you, right? Do you remember? So Rajesh, I think that these were the blunders. This is my feedback. The members will give their own. After that, you can ask your questions and then I'll discuss. When is your interview scheduled? You have time, right? To work on these areas. Definitely, there will be quantum jump.
Rajesh, this is the third time you're going to be appearing for the interview. Why then is there so much of apprehension? Why are you so nervous?
Second move. Overall, it's the second move. No, both moves were today. First time morning. Haven't been a lot of skills. That's why we make 90 or less to play.
It was visible. It was clearly visible in your expression, in your body language. So, at the very moment you entered, till the time you left, it was nothing else but two words: casual and informal. And both these words will do you a world of harm. They will not help you. Now, why are we trying to point out all these small things? To help you achieve your desired goal, right? And believe me, I don't see any reason why you should not make it. You have gone through the process 7 times. You have gone through the interviews twice. Now you know what is what and what is where. There's no reason at all why you should not be able to, strike the bell this time. So please don't get nervous. Every action of yours, even when you were sitting, you were playing with your twiddling with your thumb and you were playing with your fingers. Because the way you were sitting, I mean, if this is the way you sit, or you were sitting on the edge of the seat in the beginning, if this is the way you sit, let your back touch the seat of the back of the seat. Your back should touch the back of the seat, right? Yes. And now look, and a little while ago you were sitting like this. Now tell me, which is looking better, this or this? It not only feels good, it makes the other person also feels good. Right? Even the other person who's looking at you, he also feels good. Yeah, smart banda, right? Oh, Punjab da munda hai tu, eh? Why should you not have confidence? What shocked me was, 5 cities in Punjab and you could name. Itni zyada confusion.
Most populous.
Ah.
And the fifth one is Gurdaspur.
So,
I'm sure about the fifth one. I can't guess.
So Gurdaspur or Pathankot is fifth one, I think. If I'm not wrong. Please
but
check.
tie थोड़ा सा लंबा करो उसको please. ठीक है? Tie should not be so short. It should be touching your belt. Just about touching your belt or maybe a little over. चलेगा. But not इतना gap नहीं. बटन बंद करो. किसके लिए होते हैं बटन यार ये? बंद करने के लिए होता है. ये क्या दिखा रहा है? Casualness. Do you wear a beard always या
Totally clean shape. This time I'm thinking of this.
if you are thinking in terms of getting a trimming done, I would advise you to go in for a clean shave. It gives you a look of being smart. Trimmed and unkept beard looks कि यार ये देखो casual बंदा है. So shave, clean shave and go, it will give a much better look to your personality. ठीक है? Socks, यार my goodness, कैसे आपने socks पहनी है ये मुझे समझ में नहीं आया. Yes. As far as possible, try and wear clothes that you feel comfortable in, and don't wear clothes like this. And don't say that word here, which I usually wear. That means you usually wear dress like this. वो भी मत करो ना. Avoid that. Shoes भी polish नहीं है आपके, ठीक है, उनको भी थोड़ा सा जरा, because you going around, वहाँ पे तो आपको you have to put up your best, show that in. It's a very formal affair, let me tell you. बहुत formal affair है वो. Both the interviews that you've gone across, कितना? Must have lasted about 30 minutes max, not more than that. So 30 minutes में तो you have to put up your best foot forward, right? So remember that. Date of birth के बारे में you had no knowledge at all. You said कि I have read. Never say that. अगर आपने, if you are not aware, sir I'm unable to recollect. चलेगा. But don't say कि सर last time मैंने पढ़ा था और अब की बार मैंने उसको रिवाइज नहीं किया तो I have forgotten. Definitely नहीं चलेगा, right? So पढ़ो. This is known as the National Maritime Day, 5th of April. नेशनल मैरिटाइम डे क्यों मनाया जाता है वो भी पता करो, ठीक है? किस किस के बर्थडे है उस दिन. व्हाई इज दिस डे इंपॉर्टेंट इन इंडियन हिस्ट्री? वर्ल्ड हिस्ट्री में कुछ ऐसा कुछ हादसा हुआ था इस दिन? नो एवरीथिंग अबाउट दिस डे. यू डेट योर नेम राजेश. राजेश का मतलब क्या होता है ये भी पता करो. दिस क्वेश्चन कैन बी आस्क्ड. पूछा गया लास्ट टाइम आपको. इट कैन बी आस्क्ड बिकॉज ये इंटरव्यू जो हो रहा है किसका, किस चीज के लिए हो रहा है? योर पर्सनालिटी. पर्सनालिटी कहां से पता चलेगी? हाउ राउंडेड योर पर्सनालिटी इज. या जो कुछ भी लिखा है यहीं से सारे क्वेश्चन पूछे गए आपसे. Has anything been asked to you today out of this? आपका अगर if anything was asked to you, it was all based on something that you have written here. Either your qualifications or your choices or your hobbies or your place, yeah, date of birth, everything is emanating from here only. है कि नहीं? तो उसको चाट के रखो. Don't forget. भूलना नहीं, याद रखना है. एंड सेम कि सर मैंने पढ़ा था 14 साल हो गए या 10 साल हो गया मैं भूल गया, ये कभी गलती से भी मत किया करना, ठीक है? यू आर सपोज टू बेसिक्स पूछा जा रहा है आपसे. यहाँ पे कोई आपको तो समझ, इज एनीबॉडी आस्किंग यू द डिटेल्स? नहीं तो then you said making people smile is a value which is very dear to you, but you yourself were not smiling because you were so nervous, you were so tense, and because you were tense, obviously we also were not smiling. If you are having a smile on your face, क्या होगा? माहौल हल्का हो जाता है. The environment in the room becomes much more cordial. And when the environment is cordial, तो क्या होगा? Questions भी वैसे आराम से पूछे जाएंगे. हाँ भाई, कहाँ के रहने वाले हो? ऐसी. So that's what the personality is being shown by you. You are showcasing it. Then overall, if I had to say, you lack energy in this performance today. You had no energy at all. ये बात आपको समझ में नहीं आ रहा बोल क्या गया आप. So this is not a time to get overawed by the situation, my dear friend. 7 attempts you have made at this goal. अब की बार 8वां अटेम्प्ट मत करो फिर से. Don't go into the whole rigmarole once again. और ये सब चीजें हम आपको उसके लिए बता रहे हैं because we don't want this to happen again. अब की बार hit it. Jackpot आपको मिलना चाहिए अब की बार, ठीक है? All that has been told to you has been told to you in your interest. छोटी छोटी चीजें हैं but which will have a very big impact. और ये छोटी छोटी चीजों को अगर आप ध्यान रखा ना, कहीं नहीं गए आपके anything between 30 to 35 to 40 marks. अगर 40 नंबर आपको एक्स्ट्रा मिल सकते हैं only by doing all this, तो फर्स्ट टाइम और सेकंड टाइम में आपको कुछ फर्क तो किया होगा. What did you do differently that you got 140 and you got 160? Remember, think of that and repeat that again this time. ठीक है. And the worst thing आपके इंटरव्यू का, अगर मैं बोलूंगा जो धब्बा था, that was your weakness that you spelled out. You said I'm lazy and I keep work pending. My goodness. If you are lazy and if you keep work pending, then this is not the place for you, my dear friend. यहाँ पे तो you are not supposed to be lazy at all, and you want to be the IPS. Procrastination is not acceptable in this case, my dear friend. So why call that as your weakness? Don't spell it out. It may be your weakness, but don't spell it out. आप दुनिया उनको तो हिंट दे रहे हो कि भैया मैं तो लेजी हूँ, वो सब बोलते ठीक है ना, अगर 10 देना तो उसमें से दे देगा आपको 0 या 1. खत्म बात. What happens? You lose out. Please don't spell out these two weaknesses. Think of something that you can say, which Orissa is a stable state, Orissa is a good state, मेरा transfer नहीं होगा. Sorry friend, नहीं चलेगा. ठीक है. You have to showcase your personality. I am strong, I can take pressure. And आपको बार बार पूछा जा रहा है कि can you take pressure? Yes, I can take pressure. Why do you want? Why is Orissa? Because वहाँ pressure नहीं है. खत्म. बातों बातों में आपने अपनी पोल खोल दी ना. So overall, my dear friend, let me tell you, much needed to be improved. Eye contact से लेके, आपका energy level, knowledge of your date of birth. We're not saying कि knowledge of your subjects and knowledge, वो सब तो रहने हो गया टेस्ट में जो होना था ना. यहाँ पे वो टेस्ट नहीं हो रहा है. Understand that? यहाँ पे वो टेस्ट नहीं हो रहा है. यहाँ पे did you note one thing? आप डेट ऑफ बर्थ पूछा तो मैं आपको 3-4 बार मैंने क्वेश्चन, आप यू सेड नो आई डोंट नो, मैंने फिर भी पूछा उसके बारे में. मैंने फिर भी एक और हिंट देके फिर भी पूछा आपको, यू सेड आई डोंट नो, एक और हिंट देके फिर पूछा मैंने आपसे. व्हाई? आई एम ट्राइंग टू पुट यू मोर अंडर प्रेशर एंड यू आर फॉलोइंग प्रे देयर. क्या हो रहा है? आपने अपनी पर्सनैलिटी दिखा दी कि आई कांट टेक प्रेशर. इजंट इट? सो प्लीज थोड़ा सा पढ़ाई करके जाओ. डोंट टेक इट वेरी इजी, डोंट टेक इट वेरी कैजुअल. इट्स अ फॉर्मल अफेयर एंड गो in with the intention of making it big and striking gold this time. Okay? All the very best.
Rajesh, the best part of the interview was that what I felt that you are honest. That is your biggest strength. ठीक है, लेकिन ये critical analysis है, so we have to point out the improvements which are required. Apart from whatever been highlighted, the additional points I want to mention is that in some of the answers, you used some informal words or phrases like you know. It is as if that we are speaking to a friend कि भी आप जानते हो ऐसा होता है ना. This is a formal occasion, so यहाँ पे आप you know ये सब use नहीं कर सकते. Also some words like wanna, you use this word wanna. This is informal English. Wanna, you say want to or whatever you want to say it clearly, है ना. आप ये जो अमेरिकन स्लैंग्स है उन सब में बात नहीं कर सकते ना. So don't use such kind of words. Also some Hindi words came in between, like ki, then matlab. When you were under pressure, when you weren't able to frame a proper answer, you used Hindi words in between, so avoid that as well. Whenever you are asked a general question, don't go specific. जब सर ने आपको क्वेश्चन पूछा फ्री बीस पॉलिटिक्स के बारे में, सर ने जनरल क्वेश्चन पूछा था, व्हाई यू वेंट स्पेसिफिक. सर आर यू टॉकिंग अबाउट पंजाब गवर्नमेंट 300 यूनिट्स फ्री इलेक्ट्रिसिटी. You should not be specific. You don't know what ideology a panelist is having. Why being specific? है ना. अगर आप स्पेसिफिक होंगे तो आप क्या पता किसकी आइडियोलॉजी, किसके व्यू पॉइंट्स को आप वायलेट कर लेंगे या डिस्टर्ब कर लेंगे. He might take offense of it. So try to be generalist. The question was in that sense only कि फ्री बी पॉलिटिक्स क्या है. तो आपको कहना था कि सर उसके ये एडवांटेजेस है, ये डिसएडवांटेजेस है. सिंपल है ना. तो जनरल क्वेश्चन को आप जनरल रखिए, डोंट गो स्पेसिफिक. Your answers were very long at multiple places. Try to answer in crisp manner as far as possible. Don't build a background. If you're asked with what is your favorite food, then just say, sir, biryani is my favorite food. That's it. है ना? Sir, there are many foods. All foods are my favorite. In my locality, this one is prevalent, but my favorite is this. Don't build background. Don't go for long and long answers. आपका voice बहुत low हो गया था after a point of time, and it was difficult to make sense what are you trying to say. Are you planning to wear same specs in interview? Rimless. So wear that. That will look more good. Laziness point out कर लिया है सर ने. At one point you mentioned दादा फाल्के. It is दादा साहेब फाल्के, है ना? तो उन्होंने अच्छा काम किया है तो उनको एक उपाधि मिली हुई है दादा साहेब, है ना? So use that full phrase दादा साहेब फाल्के. You confused Harnas Sindhu and Harsimrat Kaur. That was the blunder. You shouldn't do that. So take some pause before answering. Don't be in a hurry to shoot your answer. And whenever we are in a hurry, we make mistakes. है ना? थोड़ा आराम से बोलेंगे, क्वेश्चन सुना, 2 सेकंड लिए पॉज, देन आंसर. Even if you are in pressure, don't be in a hurry. You said that honesty is your virtue, and when asked about tell me an instance of where you depicted honesty, you failed to state any instance from your life. आप 27-28 साल के हो गए हैं, तो कभी ना कभी तो ऐसा वाकया हुआ होगा कि जब आपने ऑनेस्टी डिपिक्ट की है, तो आपने बताया क्यों नहीं? जब सर ने पूछा आपसे, आपने पूछा था सर ऑनेस्टी, आपने क्यों नहीं बताया? ये तो बोनस पॉइंट्स होते हैं, आपको गैदर करने ही करने हैं. फुल टॉस बॉल आती है जब छक्का मारते हैं, तो ऐसे में तो आपको डिपिक्ट कर, अपना कोई लाइफ इंस्टेंस बताना जब आपने अच्छा काम किया हो, ऑनेस्टली डिपिक्ट की हो. या जो बोलने का जब मौका मिला, जो बोलने का मौका मिला तब भी आपने बैक फुट पे चले गए आप, है ना? तो
फुल टॉस में बैकफुट
नहीं करना चाहिए.
Defend कर. Single भी नहीं लिया free.
ठीक है. And whenever a panelist gives you some information which you weren't aware of, you should thank the panelist. है ना? जब भी सपोज मैंने आपको पूछा कि 4 चीज बताइए, आपने सिर्फ 3 बताई, मैंने चौथी मैंने ऐड कर ली, सपोज इमेजिन, तो फिर आपको थैंक करना है पैनलिस्ट. You should take that chance. When asked about what is the use of BTech in some specific service, you said, sir, I'll have knowledge of all this. Obviously, I won't remember all those skills, but I will use this. You said this. Obviously, I won't remember all those skills. Why are you demeaning yourself? आप खुद ही अपने आप को लो लेवल पे लेके जा रहे हैं. आई वोंट रिमेंबर ऑल दिस थिंग्स. बचपन में एबीसीडी सीखा था लेकिन अभी तक याद है ना, तो क्यों अपने आप को डिमीन कर रहे हैं आप? डेफ के अंदर जितने भी वर्ड्स हैं उन सबको रिसर्च कीजिए. चाहे वो गुरु रामदास जी का सवाल कहां से आया? आपने कास्ट मेंशन किया है ना, इवन गुरदासपुर में भी रामदास जी का आई थिंक कुछ रोल है, तो फिर आप गुरु रामदास जी के बारे में कंप्लीटली ब्लैंक थे आप, है ना? तो डेफ में जितने भी वर्ड्स हैं उन सबको आप रिसर्च करिए. ठीक है, ईच एंड एवरी वर्ड. पटनायक वाला पॉइंट हाईलाइट कर दिया है, आप ऐसे मन नहीं बोल सकते कभी. ठीक है. एंड द लास्ट पॉइंट, religious groups behave like a mob. You should not use such kind of phrases which might hurt people's sentiment. Religion is a fundamental right to profess religion. You can't say religious groups are behave like a mob. That might be some stray incidences, लेकिन इसका मतलब ये नहीं है कि जो पर्सन रिलीजियस है वो मॉब की तरह काम करेगा.
There are two groups. One is religious, other is as cultural. Then you
That the religious groups are always
they may get violent. तो जो वायलेंट हो जाएगा आप उसको पहले सुनेंगे, जो बेचारा शांत है बैठा है उसको आप नहीं बोलेंगे, सुनेंगे, उसकी बात नहीं रख सुनेंगे. बट ये जस्टिफिकेशन गलत है.
choice of words were terrible. As rightly pointed out, that Article 25 says what? Right? Everybody. And what about Article 21? Right to life, which is much broader. In that, you also have the right to worship, to indulge into religious functions. Better answer would have been, I would divide the time between both the groups with mutual consultation. I also try to find for a alternate space. ऐसे कुछ मिड पाथ अपनाओ ना. आपने देखो बहुत सारी बातें ऐसी रामायण वाला वो आपने बोला पहले, then you said religious group behave as mob, then you said I do not believe in religion. मतलब आप समझ रहे हैं, डॉट्स कनेक्ट होते जा रहे हैं, ऐसा लग रहा है you do not believe in right to religion which is a fundamental right, but actually that was, और आपने अगर फंडामेंटल राइट, कोई भी फंडामेंटल राइट उसके खिलाफ बोल दिया इंटरव्यू में, मतलब आपने कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन के खिलाफ बोल दिया।
आप आईपीएस ऑफिसर बनेंगे और ऐसी बातें करेंगे तो कितनी कंट्रोवर्सी क्रिएट कर सकते हैं आप सोचिए, आप दंगे भड़कवा सकते हैं अगर ऐसा हो गया, है ना। तो चूज योर वर्ड्स वेरी केयरफुली वॉट एवर यू आर ट्राइंग टू से, है ना। इट द गुड क्वालिटी ऑफ अ सिविल सर्वेंट और क्वालिटीज ऑफ अ गुड सिविल सर्वेंट इज दैट वॉट एवर ही वॉन्ट्स टू से, whatever he is saying and whatever the other person is getting, all three should be in a sync, है ना। आप कहना कुछ और चाहते हैं, मैं कुछ और समझ रहा हूँ, हम सब ने एक जैसा समझा, मतलब कहीं ना कहीं आपके चॉइस ऑफ वर्ड्स में कुछ ना कुछ फ्लॉज हैं। सो मेक योर चॉइस वेरी केयरफुली, ठीक है। अगर आप ये सब इंप्रूवमेंट करते हैं तो 40 to 50 मार्क्स आप इंप्रूव कर सकते हैं इजीली, ठीक है। ये आपका 7वां अटेम्प्ट है, तो डोंट मेक सच काइंड ऑफ सिली मिस्टेक्स।
Guys, you can ask us specific questions before I discuss.
don't have specific questions right now.
As rightly pointed out, this entire आपका जो फीडबैक आप देख रहे हैं कितना लंबा चल रहा है, इसका रीजन ही यही है कि हम चाहते हैं कि आप सिलेक्ट हो जाए। तुमको भी पता है वॉइस पे काम करो, चॉइस ऑफ वर्ड्स पे, ठीक है, और डैश को थोड़ा और। आज की परफॉर्मेंस के हिसाब से हमने आपको वैसा ही दिया जैसा फर्स्ट टाइम आपको मिला था, वन ठीक, लेकिन जैसा बताया गया अगर आप ये इन चीजों पे काम करते हैं 40 to 45 जो भी और 180 अगर मिल गया आप समझ लो कि आपके चांसेस बहुत बड़े थे।
All those things I will prepare it better. And can I come after 7 days, 8 days again?
Here, you can check the schedule. If there is an opportunity, definitely we'll love to interact more.
तो ये इंटरव्यू इतना अच्छा नहीं गया ना, तो प्रिपेयर नहीं था, तो नेक्स्ट टाइम आई विल कम मोर प्रिपेयर्ड।
But remember, we will not ask you the same questions. Number one. Number two, the first question we will ask you is आज का आपका टारगेट स्कोर क्या है, कितना इम्प्रूवमेंट लेके आए हो, पहला क्वेश्चन ये पूछेंगे, उसके बाद बात करेंगे, ठीक है। See, these are small things. You know, this test से क्या बताया गया आपको? This is a test of personality. और पर्सनालिटी कहाँ से निकल के आती है? ये बॉडी लैंग्वेज 55%, इसको भी गूगल कर लो आप। 55% इज जस्ट योर बॉडी लैंग्वेज, जो आपकी पर्सनालिटी को दिखाता है। और बॉडी लैंग्वेज अगर आपकी कमजोर है तो क्या होगा? 55% मार्क्स तो आपने गंवा दिए। हम व्हाई आर यू सेइंग 35 to 45 मार्क्स तक आप एक्स्ट्रा ले सकते हैं? बिकॉज छोटी छोटी चीजें भी आपको 5-5, 10-10 नंबर बढ़वाएंगी। टोन के बारे में क्यों बोल रहे हैं आपको? 38% ऑफ पर्सनालिटी डिपेंड्स अपॉन योर टोन, पता है आपको? Nobody tells you this, but why are we telling you? Because these small things make a big impact seen in totality.
वो नवीन पटनायक वाला गलती नहीं होता और ये वाली गलती नहीं होती आपकी रिलीजन वाले, तो आपका स्कोर अभी 170 होता। सिर्फ ये दो आंसर आपके 25 नंबर गिरा दिए, ठीक है, 25 से 30। और जैसे बोला गया, कौन सा अटेम्प्ट है? कौन सा अटेम्प्ट है? लास्ट होना चाहिए, ठीक है, और लास्ट मान के चलो, ठीक है। ओके डियर, ऑल